Rồi. Em chào buổi sáng các anh chị ạ. Trước tiên em xin tự giới thiệu thì em là ông anh phụ trách ngành hàng nông nghiệp của công ty Trung Hải. Thì hôm nay em rất vui khi mà được chào đón các anh chị đến buổi webinar đầu tiên của bên mảng nông nghiệp. Với số đầu tiên này thì tụi em sẽ làm về cái việc kiểm tra bệnh thực vật và các phương pháp mà kiểm bệnh thực vật, giải pháp mà bảo vệ sức khỏe cho cây trồng. Hôm nay thì chúng ta có speaker là anh Robert, là giám đốc chuyên chuyên gia về bệnh thực vật của hãng APA, một trong những hãng nổi tiếng nhất của Mỹ về cái phương pháp mà kiểm tra bệnh thực vật trên cây trồng, và họ đã có hơn 40 năm kinh nghiệm trong lĩnh vực này. Trên bài present thì sẽ có phần tiếng Anh và tiếng Việt. Các anh chị có thể chọn vào nút More. Khi bấm vào nút More thì nó có phần Language và Speak. Ở đây thì nó sẽ có cái ô turn on live caption. Thì nó sẽ, khi mà anh chị bấm vào đây thì mấy anh chị sẽ thấy được cái phụ đề phía dưới. Dạ. Ngoài ra thì trong quá trình mà diễn ra hội thảo thì các anh chị mà có thêm những câu hỏi đặt ra thì mọi người có thể điền vào trong khung chat. Thì kỹ thuật của bên em sẽ thống kê lại các câu câu hỏi và gửi cho bên hãng, họ sẽ giải đáp các vấn đề thắc mắc cho bên mình. À, mọi người chịu khó đợi chút xíu dùm em ạ. Mấy ảnh đang tìm lại cái file recent. Okay. Um, Hello Robert, can you turn on your micro?
That better?
Yes.
Okay, can you see our screen now? You see the presentation?
Yes, I can see your presentation.
Okay, good. So,
Yeah, it's clearly.
so do you want to go ahead and get started, or is there anything else that you need to do before we get started?
Yes, we can start now. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and put it in slideshow mode here. Still see everything okay?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay. Okay, good. So, my name is Robert Emmett, and my colleague David Rambo. Um, Today, I'm going to talk about plant disease, some concepts, causes, and then some of the diagnostic solutions that Agdia has for detection. So, talk a little bit about concepts, some of the history, the impact of plant disease. Then we're going to talk about the three major pathogens, and then diagnostic testing options. So why do you test, and what products do we have available for you to use for testing? But before we jump into that, just a little bit of background on Agdia itself. Agdia is short for Agricultural Diagnostics. We are located in Elkhart, Indiana, and we're founded in 1981. So just a little bit of background on Agdia. So disease is defined as a progressive departure from normal form and or function caused by an infectious agent and manifested as symptoms. So keep symptoms in mind. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. It's probably been around as long as plants have existed and causes up to 20% crop losses around the world on an annual basis. So this crop loss impacts civilization through famine, population movement, disruption of economic markets, political and social unrest, and ecological change. So plant pathology is the study of plant disease and its effects on civilization. In Greek, the word pathos, where pathology comes from, means suffering or pity. And if you look left to right, these are all epidemics, either in the past or current, which have caused quite a bit of suffering for humans in one way or the other. So you have late blight, which is caused by Phytophthora, Panama disease caused by Fusarium, olive decline caused by Xylella fastidiosa, and this is chestnut blight. That's Cryphonectria parasitica. So plant disease as a concept is usually taught as a triangle. So this triangle, 3 points to the triangle, all 3 points have to be at one place at one time for disease to take place. So you have to have a susceptible host, a favorable environment, and a pathogen. So if any one of these is missing, no disease. When you get all of them, you get disease. Now, what I'm going to be doing is focusing primarily on the pathogen part of this triangle. And we're going to be talking about viruses, bacteria, and fungi. So one of the things that you want to keep in mind when you're diagnosing plant disease are two things: signs and symptoms. So a sign is an indication of disease from direct observation of a pathogen or its parts. Okay, so you have spores or the fungal body, which is a mycelia. And then symptoms would be indication of a disease by a physiological reaction from the host. So the sign is part of the pathogen. The symptom is the plant's response to the presence of the pathogen. Two very different things, but they go together. So jumping right into viruses, virus is Latin for virulentus, which means poisonous substance. The modern era of virology, plant virology and human virology, started with the discovery of tobacco mosaic virus. And it was first characterized by a microbiologist, this gentleman right here, named Martinus Beijerinck in 1898. Viruses, a little bit different than the other plant pathogens. They're not considered living organisms because they do not reproduce and they contain no cells. They cannot replicate without a living host. Therefore, they are considered obligate intracellular parasites. Obligate because they cannot be outside of a host and be able to replicate. Intracellular because they live within the cell. They do their business within the cell. They're really just an infectious nucleic acid. With plants, plant pathogens, it's usually RNA, and they'll have a protein coat and a membrane. This is tobacco mosaic virus, or a representation of it. Viruses must be placed within the plant cell for infection to occur. And they can be spread in multiple different ways. So you have mechanical, which would be like pruning, tools, things of that nature. That's usually how they get spread locally. You can have insect vectors, which are very important. That can be either local or long distance spread. And then propagative materials. So propagative materials are typically how viruses get spread long distance. And propagative materials can be vegetative or seed. So typical symptoms of viruses, and one thing we need to understand is that viruses you can't see the signs of a virus. Remember, we talked about signs and symptoms. You need an electron microscope to see the signs of a virus. But the typical symptoms will include ring spots on foliage and fruit, mosaic patterns, tissue death, and then chlorosis and stunting. So there's not really any other way to know that a plant is infected with a virus without seeing the symptoms. Because like I said, you cannot see the signs without an electron microscope. So moving on to the next one here, it says viruses, but this is actually bacteria. This is bacteria. So bacteria are prokaryotes. So they are single-celled organisms. Unlike viruses, they are an organism, and most have cell walls. Now, the first bacterial pathogen to be characterized was Erwinia amylavera, which causes fire blight on apple and pear. And it was first characterized by this gentleman here, Thomas Burrell, in 1878 at the University of Illinois. So once again, these are bacteria, not viruses on this one. Okay, so once again, viruses up there, it should be bacteria. They multiply by asexual fission, so they basically just divide, and they infect the plants through stomata, natural openings, wounds, and vectors. These are bacteria growing into a stomate on a plant leaf. Bacteria are typically spread wind and rain, so hurricanes, typhoons are notorious for spreading bacteria. Human activity, insect vectors, and infected plant parts. So bacteria will produce enzymes, toxins, and a substance called EPS, or extracellular polysaccharides. Some people call it ooze, but it's this here. It's dripping out of the plants or in the vascular system of the plant. This is a sign of a bacterial infection. So if you have bacterial ooze like this, it's going to be a bacterial infection. Typical symptoms are going to include wilts, leaf and fruit spots, soft rots, and galls. So the next group I'm going to talk about, probably the biggest, it's definitely the biggest group, would be the fungi and the oomycetes. So these are multicellular eukaryotic organisms, so they have a true nucleus. And fungi make up about 85% of the plant diseases that infect plants. So viruses and bacteria, and then basically fungi make up just about everything, well, 85%. So the beginning of the study of fungi was really a gentleman named Anton de Berry. He's considered the father of plant pathology. He studied both wheat rust and late blight. Wheat rust is a fungi, late blight is an oomycete. And he published his work on the Irish potato famine, which was caused by late blight. And he did that in 1861 through 1863. So fungi are capable of sexual and asexual reproduction. So they can do both. The body of the fungi is known as the mycelium. They produce spores as infectious propagules. So the mycelia or the spores can infect the plant. But what happens is these produce spores, the mycelia produce spores, the spores land on a plant, they germinate, form more mycelia, and the cycle continues. Out of the pathogens we're talking about, fungi are the only ones that can actively penetrate plant tissue to infect the plant. So the way that these guys are spread, fungi and omycetes, once again, wind and rain, human activity, infested soil, infested irrigation water, infected plant materials, and a lot of fungi can actually release spores on their own. It's a forced release. So they blow their spores into the air on their own. Now, typical symptoms of fungal and omycete infections, vascular wilt, leaf spots, stem cankers, root rots, and wood decay. So now that we've talked about the pathogens a little bit and everybody has a little bit of background on these, I think the next thing we jump into is discussing why you want to test. So why do you want to use Agdia's products? Why do you want to test your plants to make sure that they're not infected with a virus, a bacteria, or a fungi? Well, that's because prevention by exclusion is the best management practice. And you have to identify the problem before you can develop a solution. So the diagnostic products I'm going to talk about are called serological tests. So they are Immunostrip and ELISA are the products that we sell. So these are based on immunochemistry, and it's immunochemistry because it's what happens in the immune system. They are sensitive and they are specific at times, and they are based on a reaction or a binding that takes place between an antibody and an antigen. So this would be on the pathogen. This would be the virus, on the bacteria, on the fungi, and this antibody binds to that. So the reaction between the antibody and the antigen causes lines on the Immunostrip or color change in the ELISA plate. So focusing on the Immunostrip, it includes all the necessary components. So everything you need comes with that. It's user-friendly, can be used by lab and field personnel. No experience is required. It will give you a positive or negative result. So no guessing, it just either positive or negative, and you typically get results within 30 minutes. And this is a list of the Immunostrips that we have available for a lot of the pathogens that you had listed that were of importance to your to the rest of the people involved here. So ELISA stands for enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay. It's really the most common serological test. It's been used for over 50 years, and it's used by labs around the world, including a lot of the big seed producers. It's the most economical method, and you can test multiple samples at one time. So ELISA is a very popular method for testing. And once again, these are the pathogens that we have available in ELISA for ELISA format. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but hopefully that your guests have the slides so they can look at those. And that is the end of my presentation. So if you have any questions.
Thank you, Robert.
Yep.
Dạ. Anh chị, mọi người nếu như có câu hỏi nào thì có thể đặt ra cho hai anh chuyên gia ở đây nha. Mình có thể là ghi vào trong khung chat giùm em ạ. Rồi tụi em sẽ tổng hợp câu hỏi lại và gửi cho hai ảnh. Dạ. Ngoài ra thì hai ảnh cũng thể nhìn thấy câu hỏi của mình trong khung chat luôn. Thì vừa rồi thì hai ảnh đi cũng có hơi hơi nhanh một chút xíu á. Thì mọi người có chỗ nào mà có thắc mắc hay là có vấn đề gì? Ngoài ra thì mình có farm của mình hay là mình đang làm nghiên cứu gì đó mà có gặp vấn đề gì về các bệnh cây trồng thì mình cũng có thể nhắn vào đây. Thì hai ảnh sẽ giải đáp trên này trực tiếp cho anh chị luôn ạ. Dạ. Trong lúc mà chờ đợi các câu hỏi thì em cũng xin giới thiệu sơ qua về công ty Trung Hải của bên em. Thì bên em có cung cấp các giải pháp là từ nông trại cho tới bàn ăn. Thì về phần nông trại thì tụi em có cung cấp các giải pháp dùng cho nông nghiệp. Thì ngoài hãng RDA này ra thì chuyên về các giải pháp dùng để kiểm tra bệnh, tình trạng sức khỏe cho cây trồng. Ngoài ra thì tụi em cũng có một số các thiết bị khác mà dùng để gọi là nghiên cứu, phân tích và đo lường về cái tình trạng của cây trồng, như là một số máy đo diệp lục, máy đo dòng nhựa, hay là máy phân tích quang hợp. Ngoài ra thì về môi trường nông nghiệp thì tụi em cũng có một số thiết bị như là các trạm thời tiết, các máy dùng để kiểm tra nồng độ khí phát thải dùng cho nông nghiệp, và cả cảm biến mà đo đất như là đo độ ẩm, độ mặn hay là oxy trong đất. Các thiết bị của bên em cung cấp các giải pháp đó là thì từ có những thiết bị cầm tay. Ngoài ra thì cũng có những cái thiết bị dùng để giám sát online 24/7. Nếu như mà các anh chị nào mà mình có các file mà hay là mình có các đề tài dự án mà mình đang cần quan tâm về các thiết bị dùng để nghiên cứu sức khỏe của cây trồng đi theo hướng nông nghiệp chính xác, thì có thể liên hệ với em, tụi em sẽ có những cái sản phẩm apply cho các anh chị. Ngoài ra thì về phần bàn ăn thì tụi em có cung cấp các giải pháp dùng để kiểm tra vi sinh và kháng sinh, an toàn vệ sinh thực phẩm. Thì các anh chị mà như là mình làm trong các farm rau củ mà mình đang cần kiểm tra dư lượng thuốc bảo vệ thực vật, hoặc là một số anh chị mà dùng để mà gọi là sản xuất nông sản sạch á, thì mình cũng quan tâm về kiểm các khuẩn như là E. coli, coliform, thì tụi em cũng có những giải pháp mà dùng cho phòng cho trang trại luôn. Thì đó là có những cái giải pháp trong phòng thí nghiệm, và cũng có những giải pháp mà gọi là mang đi hiện trường cầm tay, phù hợp cho những đơn vị sản xuất nhỏ lẻ và cho tới các phòng lab chuyên nghiệp. Thì đó là các giải pháp mà bên em đang cung cấp. Thì nếu như các anh chị nào mình có quan tâm về những cái sản phẩm này thì có thể liên hệ với lại bên em. Thì như mà mọi người thấy thì có trên màn hình là có email của em, anh chấm đào a@thscientific.com. Thì mình có thể gửi email này trực tiếp cho em, tụi em sẽ hỗ trợ cho bên mình. À, hello Robert.
Yes.
Yes, we have a question from the customer. You can check in the chat box.
What's going on? There's a question in the chat box. Okay. Let's stop sharing, maybe. Yep, that's what I do. It's right there. Heck. So these are probably, we don't have any tests for fungi on the vanilla vines. We do have some viruses or some tests for the viruses that infect vanilla orchid. Do I have any advice for sweet potato virus? Which virus in sweet potatoes? So I would probably have to, I'd probably have to do a little bit of research to find out what the what viruses were in sweet potato in Vietnam before I could answer that fully.
This virus potato virus.
I could, if you, I mean, also on if you want to get questions from people and then send them to us in an email, I can answer, I can research those questions and um, do what I can to provide all the answers to everybody. I'd be happy to do that.
Dạ chị Uyên ơi, cái câu hỏi về cái sweet potato virus của mình á thì cái này thì em sẽ gửi email cho bên hãng, thì hãng họ sẽ cần thời gian để họ check lại cái thông tin những con virus đó. Thì mình đang hỏi nó thiên về cái virus khoai lang ở trên ở Việt Nam mình á, thì họ sẽ cần một số một ít thời gian để họ kiểm tra, thì em sẽ gửi lại cái thông tin này qua cho mình sau chị Uyên.
Share those sweet potato viruses that are in the screen. So the Idea Testing Services Laboratory does offer a sweet potato screen that includes 6 tests. Some of those tests include cucumber mosaic virus, the Poti group virus test, Rhizoctonia, tobacco mosaic virus, and tobacco streak virus.
Yeah, that's one from, said it was H.M. Klaus. That's one for tech support.
Yeah, I think the Xanthomonas question that's in the chat there would be best suited for our technical support department. But really the difference there is likely the fact that you have maybe different samples at different times, or that one technology is more sensitive than the other. So generally speaking, the ELISA test is going to have more sensitivity than the immunostrip.
It'll be citrus. So as far as HLB with an immunostrip, I'm not sure that an immunostrip wouldn't work for HLB. It's just the product that we created is a molecular product because it's more sensitive, and it was developed in cooperation with some people here in the United States who wanted a molecular test. So that's why we created that one on that platform. Oh, question. Okay. Search reports assessment methods and soil samples be used. So on Phytophthora, the Phytophthora products that we have, both the immunostrip and the ELISA, will pick up both of those, both species of Phytophthora that you have listed. As far as product sensitivity, research reports, those are something that I would have to send you. And could soil samples be used? Not directly. There are ways to bait the organism out of the soil, but you cannot test soil directly with the Immunistrip or the ELISA products.
Dạ vâng. Anh chị có còn câu hỏi nào khác không để mình đặt cho hai anh chuyên gia ở đây giải đáp không ạ? Hoặc là những cái câu hỏi mình vừa hỏi thì mấy anh trả lời mình có rõ chưa? Nếu chưa thì mình cũng có thể đặt thêm những cái câu hỏi chi tiết hơn để mấy anh hỗ trợ. Còn những câu hỏi nào mà nó cần nhiều thời gian để kiểm tra hơn thì tụi em có thể thì mấy anh chị gửi để lại email giùm em á, thì em sau hội thảo thì tụi em sẽ check lại và tụi em gửi lại thông tin cho mấy anh chị ạ.
She could produce intima, Iberobacter of HLB, even the subculture bacteria. Why it cannot develop antibody for computers?
I think that most recent question there, it goes back to Robert's point earlier of the fact that the market here in the United States was more for a molecular-based platform. It's not to say that you can't develop an antibody against HLB. It's possible, it's feasible, but we have not had the resources to commit to develop a particular immunostrip for HLB, mainly because we needed a more sensitive platform, as he alluded to earlier.
Hello. May I
Hello.
make a direct question?
Please, go ahead.
Yeah, yep. Good.
Yeah, I am. Thank you very much for your talk. I have the bride immunotrip for the HLV, the patient. I don't know why. Do you hear me?
We can hear you. There's a little bit of an echo.
Yeah.
So it's not good to talk now. Because I know. Sorry.
Cô nghe nó đang bị vọng âm quá cô. Chắc là cái này dạ chắc cái này cô nhắn vô chatbox hoặc là email giùm em với nha, hoặc là sau hội thảo thì mình có thể em có thể gọi điện riêng cho mình, nó đang bị vọng âm á cô.
Cô biết rồi.
Dạ.
Thank you. Sorry about it.
Dạ. Em cảm ơn cô.
So I have a couple people asking about fusarium. So as far as water goes, you can check for it on the plants, but the products we have don't work with the water itself. But you can check the plants for some of the different fusarium. We don't have an immunostrip or an ELISA for fusarium. We have a molecular platform for a couple different fusarium. but we don't have an immunostrip or an ELISA.
Are there any other product specific questions that we could address here in the next few minutes?
Yes, we have some many minutes.
Are there any other specific product questions that we could address?
I mean, there's a possibility for a test for fusarium in the future. I would say it's not that it can't be done. We have a fusarium test. It's just not an immunostrip or an ELISA. Fusarium, it might be a little tricky to develop a good antibody for that group of fungi. So, but I'm not saying that it couldn't happen. It's a tricky group to develop an antibody for, though. So.
Most of our customer base is moving towards more of a molecular approach. And so the pipeline that we have here at Agdia for new product development really is heavily focused in the molecular side. We know that immunostrips are very important to our customer base. So we still want to put, effort into developing immunostrips, but more and more often we're seeing requests for molecular-based tests. Does that seem to be the trend in Vietnam as well, or?
Yes.
It is? Okay, good.
Thì rồi mình cũng còn khá là nhiều thời gian. Anh chị còn có câu hỏi nào đặt ra cho hai chuyên gia của hãng không ạ?
Are there any other topics that you'd like to discuss?
Dạ. Rồi, vâng. Sắp tới thì anh chị có đề xuất gì về những cái chủ đề mà gọi là mà mình quan tâm nhất, hoặc là những cái bệnh virus, vi khuẩn hay bệnh thực vật gì đó mà mình đang quan tâm á, mình muốn làm một cái hội thảo để hỏi đáp với chuyên gia á, thì mọi người cũng có thể đề xuất với lại bên em. Mình có thể nhắn vào chatbox này hoặc là liên hệ trực tiếp qua số điện thoại hoặc email của em, thì em sẽ tổng hợp những cái chủ đề nào mà đang nhận được nhiều sự quan tâm nhất thì tụi em sẽ ưu tiên tổ chức trước, và những cái chủ đề nào mà nhận được ít sự quan tâm hơn thì tụi em sẽ ưu tiên, tụi em sẽ tổ chức sau đó. Nếu như mà mình có những cái đề xuất hay là những cái thông tin hay là cần tụi em hỗ trợ gì thêm từ các chuyên gia của hãng thì mình cứ nhắn trực tiếp cho bên em nha. Okay. Yeah.
How else can we help you tonight, or this morning, I should say, for you folks?
Yes.
I don't know the background of any of the people here.
Okay, so got a question from Kay there. So it says, yes, we do mainly focus on detection. Really, that's Agdia's only focus is detection. So ideas for ideas for solutions, prevention. Yes, that's kind of plant pathology that's really what it's about, is trying to prevent plant disease as much as we can. I didn't get into that a whole lot in the presentation because I didn't want the presentation to go on for, an hour. But yeah, so like I was saying in the one slide, the best prevention for any of these things is exclusion. So just keep it out to begin with. Don't let viruses in, don't let the fungi in, don't let the bacteria in. And that's where our products come into play. But once they are there, viruses, once a plant's infected with a virus, there's no way to remedy the plant at that point. So once it's infected, it's always going to be infected. So you might as well either get rid of that plant or put it off by itself, never mess with it, whatever. But once it's infected, always infected. With bacteria and fungi, you do have some options, especially with fungi, because you have chemical options. Not, just because a plant gets infected doesn't mean that you can't treat that plant and still get a yield from that plant, depending on when it was infected. So with that, you're going to have some chemical options with fungi. And then with bacteria as well, there are some product options as far as prevention and maybe even some, cleaning the plant up even though it's infected. So that's mainly probably going to be what you're doing once the plant's infected at that point. Chemical option.
Okay. Thank you. So about the customer background, I will send to you by email. It's okay?
Please.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. They can, anybody who wants to email us can email us with all of their questions. Probably give you a little bit better, a more thorough answer through an email once I can do a little bit of research on some of the stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And so a customer, she have a question for you about Elisa on seat. She asked how do you have any way to take the dessert on seat sooner?
Can you repeat that question?
Okay, a customer, she have a question for you about stating disease on seat. She say, as you know, we can check the disease on seat by ELISA, but she want to know you have any way for checking the disease on seat sooner?
So some of our immunostrips have been validated for use in seed. So I don't know if we're talking about vegetable seed here or corn seed, but yes, some of our immunostrips can be used to test seed. If you're wanting to test sooner than that, then you would be testing the plant before it actually is harvested for seed. So there are options to do that earlier.
Yes, okay.
I think we missed one question here about cryotherapy for effective method for eliminating virus in plants. I think that's probably, I don't know a lot about cryotherapy, but probably not a good method to.
I'm not well informed on cryotherapy. I don't really know. Once the plant's mature, and if it is infected when it's mature, I really don't know that anything is going to be able to eliminate it. Now, you can eliminate viruses during the tissue culture stage. You can do that, but once the plant's mature, I don't know that anything is really going to effectively get rid of the virus. Now, maybe if you can freeze it enough to inactivate it, but you may be damaging the plant as well. So, with cryotherapy. So is there any case that the plants got a virus but later recovered to be virus free? Not that I know of. I mean, most of the plants we're talking about in agriculture are going to be probably going to be annual plants. Now, not some of the stuff you said like durian and stuff like that. That's a tree, so that's around for a long time. But as far as the plants recovering, not to my knowledge. Plants don't have a adaptive immune system like animals do, so they're not able to mark the virus with an antibody and then eliminate it using their immune system. Plants don't work like that. So.
Far as for the retest and the month later, the tests were negative. Again, that would probably be something to look into more in depth with our technical support team, which is very thorough. So there are many reasons why you may get a differing result. A lot of times the focus will be just on the method of how the test was ran to make sure it was done properly. So we can't really probably dive into that here, but if that is the case and you're questioning the results of an ELISA or an immunostrip in the future, I would suggest to reach out to our technical support team. And you can either do that through Trung Hải or you can do that directly to our lab as well. Then to the question of develop immunostrips to test seed. Yes, we do have some currently that you are able to test seed. I'm not sure what seed you're referring to here, but we do have some available immunostrips that have been tested, validated for seed. Dasheen. It's Robert's favorite.
Yeah. Okay. So we like to know about. So we do have an ELISA test for Dasheen mosaic. So it is on our website. Should be able to get it on our website. Should be on it.
We can relay the part number.
Yeah. Send you a link or something.
Will that work? Will that work if we just send you the part number for the Daishun mosaic virus, Eliza? Type it into the chat if you want to.
What's that?
The part number.
What is the part number there?
SRA
Yeah.
48,000.
That's the part number for the Daishun mosaic virus, Eliza.
Get it? A little.
Oh, I
paper
didn't
airplane.
sit there, did I? Okay, so there's the part number for the Daishun mosaic, Eliza.
Hello, Robert, can you share your website on the screen for the customer can see it clearly?
He wants you to share the website on the screen.
Oh, the website?
Yes.
Where am I going to share that from?
So you have to go to the website first, and then
Yeah,
you go to that bottom left, right there, where that right there, yeah.
yeah, hang on here. Okay, so how am I supposed to
So
set
the products,
products? Yeah.
and then just type in. That's
Can they see this right?
Once you get to it, then you'll have to share your screen so they can see it.
Okay.
Minimize it so you can go to the share screen part.
Okay, can you see the product page now?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, good.
Like copy the link.
What's up?
Copy the link up there at the top to the page and paste it into the chat
Okay.
so they can go look at this. Stop sharing.
It's important.
Chat. The pricing questions, those are for on. You'll have to answer the pricing questions directly there with your customers.
Yes.
Seed import, we'll import seed and sowing. It's too late when I see any virus symptoms in our nursery. Yeah, so for those tests that you list there, definitely you can test those seed stocks again once you've received them for the viruses that you've listed. I would say if you have an infection on something that you have a clean phytosanitary certificate for, that you should probably go back to the supplier and question their testing methods. I mean, there is a chance that you can have a negative sample and then do have some infected seeds in there. You can't test every seed in the lot, otherwise you would have no seed left to plant. So there are some statistical analysis that you have to take into consideration when doing that. But definitely checking again before sowing is a good practice.
Chị Thủy, dạ. Chị Thủy ơi, về câu hỏi của mình để kiểm tra cái việc hạt giống nhập khẩu á, thì thông thường như một số khách hàng của bên em thì họ sẽ yêu cầu cái nhà xuất khẩu sẽ kiểm tra bên nước bên kia luôn trước khi mà xuất khẩu về đây. Thì cái đó là phương pháp mà nhanh nhất. Thì nếu như mà họ đã kiểm tra mà họ không thấy phát hiện được những cái con đó thì họ mới xuất khẩu về cho mình. Còn khi mà trên đường về đây á, nhiều khi cái container đó hoặc là phương tiện vận chuyển mà nó đã có sẵn mầm bệnh thì nó cũng có thể nằm ở trên cái lô hàng của mình luôn. Thì như vậy thì nhiều khi nó cũng sẽ không có chính xác được. Rồi ngoài ra thì từ cái đường vận chuyển mà từ khi mà cảng nhập khẩu mà cho tới cái farm của mình á, cho tới công ty của mình, mà nhiều khi mà trên đường nó có sự cố hay là có vấn đề gì đó mà nó tiếp xúc với mầm bệnh á, thì nó cũng có thể dẫn tới cái việc lây lan. Nên em nghĩ mà để cho rõ ràng nhất thì mình có thể là yêu cầu cái bên xuất khẩu cho chị á, kiểm tra trước khi mà bán hàng cho mình và gửi cho mình cái báo cáo đó. Dạ rồi, bây giờ thì em thấy nó cũng hơi trễ cho hai anh rồi á. Thì về những cái câu hỏi của anh chị thì mình còn cái câu hỏi nào khác thì có thể gửi email hoặc là gửi qua Zalo giùm em ha. Rồi em sẽ gửi email lại cho bên hãng và để cho hai anh đó trả lời. Thì trước khi kết thúc thì em cũng xin phép là chia sẻ cái mã QR code của bên em. Thì cái mã này là dùng để khảo sát về chất lượng webinar. Ờm, Nhờ anh chị quét giùm em để đánh giá chất lượng để tụi em có thể cải tiến hơn cho những webinar lần sau. Ngoài ra thì các anh chị mà có cần thêm những câu hỏi hay là những cái chủ đề nào mình đang quan tâm á, thì mình cũng có thể điền thông tin cho bên em thì tụi em sẽ hỗ trợ cho mình. Ok.
Thank you for attending. We appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you.
If there's any final questions, we're happy to address that. Otherwise, we can wrap it up here, and you guys can go about your day. And Robert and I are going to go to bed.
Yeah. But like we said, if people want to contact us directly with their questions, feel free.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Robert and Mr. Dave. Thank you for your attending, and thank you for your assistance. So I think it's too late for you. We can end the webinar and see you on the next webinar. It's okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you for putting this together. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. If I receive any question from the customer, I will send email to you.
Please do.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, and good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Dạ. Rồi em cũng xin cảm ơn các anh chị đã tham gia cái buổi webinar ngày hôm nay. Mọi người có còn thêm câu hỏi nào thì có thể liên hệ trực tiếp với em qua số điện thoại hoặc Zalo hay là email, thì em sẽ tổng hợp lại và gửi thông tin qua cho bên hãng. Và ngoài ra thì anh chị có cần tụi em hỗ trợ thông tin gì thêm thì cứ nhắn cho tụi em nha, rồi tụi em sẽ hỗ trợ cho bên mình. Rất cảm ơn các anh chị hôm nay đã có tham dự buổi hội thảo online này. Buổi đầu tiên thì còn có nhiều sai sót thì mong anh chị bỏ qua và góp ý giùm tụi em sẽ cải tiến, và mong rằng cái webinar lần sau nó sẽ hoàn thiện hơn. Cảm ơn anh chị rất là nhiều ạ. Dạ, hẹn gặp lại các anh chị trong webinar lần sau. Dạ, dạ em xin phép kết thúc cuộc họp ạ. Dạ, goodbye ạ. Tạm biệt các anh chị ạ.